What's up, Magic fans? Jake Chapman here with you. I am in the Juice Box, our Kia Center studio. We're getting set for the second game of the back-to-back. Magic in San Antonio tonight, looking for the season sweep against the San Antonio Spurs. Actually, 3 straight games Orlando has defeated the San Antonio Spurs, and it's going to be a big one here tonight. Magic 36-40. You got a road game against Washington on Thursday, but then until next Tuesday, Magic are going to have a couple days off, days to get right, days to get in the lab, in the practice gym, and hopefully come back very strong next week for what will be the final 4 games of the season. Orlando coming off a loss last night against the Los Angeles Clippers here at the Kia Center. 96-87 was the final score of that game, and the story of that game was rebounding, and Ivica Zubac very specifically dominated. He had 18 points, 20 rebounds, had 5 assists as well, 9 offensive boards in that game, and that was essentially the story of the night. And as always, if you guys are streaming us on YouTube, you can hit us up in the comments section. We'll make sure we get to as many as possible. But as you go back through what we saw last night, and also on Twitter and TikTok as well, as we go back through what we saw last night, it was a rock fight, frankly. 2 of the best defensive teams in the league, the Clippers and the Magic, both top 5 in defensive efficiency. And so it was another game where the Magic hold an opponent under 100. 19 times this year, the Magic have held opponents under 100 points. But the Magic now 16-3 in games where they hold opponents under 100 because they weren't able to knock off the Los Angeles Clippers last night. And as I mentioned, it was turnovers and it was offensive rebounds, really the possession battle that made the big difference in that one. Will Dawson's here. We got D, Rugrat Kelly. Vikram is here. What's up, everybody? Will Dawson, what up? And Jay Curve, of course. And hopefully the Magic able to take care of business tonight. It's a San Antonio team that is really struggling defensively. They've been kind of a mess as of late. 10 of the last 14 games, this Spurs team have allowed 115 or more points. 12 of the last 14, they've allowed 115 plus. 10 of the last 14, they've allowed 120 plus points. And so it should be an opportunity for the Magic to kind of get their offense going here. And look, we got Dan Savage. He is joining us from OrlandoMagic.com. What up, Dan? Sorry, I was clicking around. I didn't see you pop in. How long have you been waiting for me? That is Dan. Dan's here, Jason Dewberry. What do I do with him? It's all right. We're going to have him pop through here in a moment. I'm still working out the kinks, as always. This is a game tonight that I think you ideally can get your offense going a little bit. Look, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, they have not been the problem. 8 straight games, both those guys have scored 20-plus points. But what we're seeing, and it's sort of, I think, the Sacramento game and then the game last night, and granted, the Kings are not the defensive outfit that the Los Angeles Clippers are, Dan. But I think you can see the difference of when the ball's moving and when the ball is not moving. And right now, it's kind of a trick to build off of what Paolo and Franz are doing offensively. The bench scoring was not there last night. The ball movement, frankly, wasn't there last night. Again, the Clippers take you out of your stuff and what you're trying to do. But Dan, towing that line between getting Paolo and Franz going and letting them do their thing, but involving everybody else, the ball snapping around in the half court like we saw it on Saturday night. And how do you approach that these last 6 games of the season, Dan?
Here's Harden with the floater, missed it short. Rebound, Banchero. Magic
offense closer resembling what we saw against Sacramento rather than LA.
Looks like, according to the comments, I'm hearing Dan, but the kind folks at home are not necessarily hearing Dan. So we're going to move forward. We've got some Paul and Franz highlights from last night, and we've got some post-game sound from yesterday as well. Dewberry, you want to roll the post-game sound? What's Okay, all right. Highlights should be up. You should be able to hear Dan now as well. Dan, I know as you sat down, not a lot of time to prep for San Antonio, and it's a San Antonio team that looks somewhat different than the last time we saw these guys. They still have very capable players, obviously. Anytime Chris Paul's on the floor, you got to watch out for that guy. Steph Castle is probably going to be the rookie of the year. But the last two times we've seen Devin Vassell, actually going back to the beginning of last season, Devin Vassell, the Seminole, he's 30 of 50 over the course of the last two seasons against us from the field. He's one of 6 players who's averaging 25 plus points and shooting 50% from the field against the Orlando Magic going back to the beginning of last year. 27 points per game. He's shooting 60% from the field. Vassell, Harrison Barnes, who hit us up for 7 threes last time we saw these guys in early February here at the Kia Center. And then Steph Castle, of course. If you get to start your defensive game planning with those guys, where are you kind of zeroing in on them?
No, I think you're exactly right, Jake. You know, what I tried to do was look down at the last 10 games, because that's the period that they've been without both Wembanyama and Fox. And during that stretch, you know, both Castle and Vassell are averaging over 19 points per game. Both those guys have really done a good job of picking up the load. What the Spurs have done well and continue to maintain since early in the season is they're a top 3-point shooting team. You have to guard the line against them. They're top 6 in both 3-point attempts, attempting over 40 per game over the last 10 games, and they're 8th in 3-point percentage. So both volume and high quality makes are at their disposal. So the Magic have to do a really good job of knowing the personnel and running those guys off the line and really make them settle for mid-range jumpers. Otherwise, they could get hot in a hurry from the outside.
Got word just a little bit ago, Dan, that Cole Anthony will be available tonight. 10 games he's missed with that toe. He is going to come off the bench. Look, a 6-4 mark with Corey Joseph running point. We know closing games out is more important than starting games, and a lot of times it's been Anthony Black. If it was Kojo last night, if Cole's got it going, he'll be on the floor in crunch time. But as you look at what Cole brings offensively and just kind of the spirit and just having that guy back out on the floor and feeling as close to whole as you can feel this time of year. Obviously no Jalen and Mo, but we got our squad. What can Cole Anthony bring to the final 6 games of the season, do you think?
Yeah, I think Franz Wagner hit the nail on the head the other day in practice, which is, he brings additional shot creation, which this team desperately needs at time. I mean, when you're playing a team like the Clippers, like they did last night, that's jumping passing lanes, creating steals when you're trying to move the basketball, you need guys who can ISO score and take them out of it and make them be a little bit more honest. So when the Magic broke the lineup, to have a guy like Cole Anthony at their disposal would be a valuable weapon for head coach Jamal Mosley, because he can ignite an offense. He can get hot in a hurry. We've seen him in stretches coming off the bench, like early in the season, where he's a guy who plays at the caliber of a 6th man of the year. We haven't seen him do that for, an entire season, but there are stretches where he certainly plays like that. And I think that's what the Magic are hoping for now that Cole's healthy. He could give them that kind of spark to close out the season.
It hasn't been consistent, but we've seen some very positive signs offensively, over the course of the month of March. If you just compare to other months for this Magic team this year, the month of March, you averaged 108 points per game, 108.1. That's your second best scoring month. You shot 45.4% from the field. That's your best field goal percentage month. 34.6% from 3-point range, by far your best 3-point shooting month. And then 81.5% at the free throw line. You're getting more and more efficient offensively. It feels like you're controlling, I guess from 30,000 feet, things like turnovers. Yeah, there have been the offensive rebound games, but the Magic are a really good defensive rebound percentage team. As long as we don't have to see Steven Adams or Ivica Zubac, I think we're going to be all right in that regard. It feels like everything is trending positively right now, especially as you get Cole Anthony back. You just kind of got to put it all together, right? You think Cole can be that piece, that linchpin that sort of clicks everything in place? Or is it just more a matter of the competition coming down the stretch here and figuring out a way to approach each game the way you did on Saturday night against Sacramento?
Jake, I think when you really look at it, what are the constants this Magic team gets? On a nightly basis, it's been Paolo and Franz. We're seeing them do it at a historic duo level right now. You know that's your basis. And what have been the indicators of how the Magic can get wins offensively? It's when they get that third player to contribute and put up numbers. You look at the stats when Anthony Black scores in double digits. The Magic, for a stretch there, rattled off 10 straight wins just by him doing that. We saw the difference Caleb Houston could make. He knocks down 4 or so threes. Taking a look at him. We saw the difference when Gary Harris, comes in and is a linchpin defensively and puts up some points. So I think what Cole Anthony does is he adds another lottery ticket in that sort of, jumble. If he's another guy who could come in on a given night and give you double digits in addition to Paolo and Franz. And the more guys that Jamal Mosley has at his disposal that are capable of doing it, I think that bodes well for this Magic team because, that's something they've missed since Jalen Suggs and Mo Wagner went out. Those were two guys you could count on as additional scoring mechanisms when either Paolo or Franz didn't have it going or you needed additional scoring punch. So without those two guys coming back for the rest of the season, the Magic need as many, lottery tickets as possible to placate and move around those pieces. So I'm hopeful that with Cole Anthony in there, you have him, Caleb Houston gaining confidence, Anthony Black gaining confidence. You'll have enough tools at your disposal to get some additional double-digit scoring games.
Another one of those lottery tickets, just as far as bench production goes. We're getting a look at him right now on the screen. Gary Harris getting shots up. Look, between Caleb, as you mentioned, who shot just under 55% from three-point range in the month of March, Gary, it's different than last year. Last year, your bench production was the Mo and Joe show, right? And Joe Ingles is no longer a member of the squad, and Mo Wagner has been out since early December and will not be returning. So it is. It feels like it's, one night it could be Gary, one night it could be Caleb, but it's got to come from somewhere. And hopefully Cole, sliding into that role, is able to bring it. Saturday night, it was obviously Goga Batadze and Caleb Houston who brought it home. But last season, there was a sort of consistent bench production identity. And right now, and injuries have been the main culprit and the main reason you haven't been able to identify it. But right now, it's still kind of a guessing game. And I think it's something that you're going to want to try to figure out coming down the stretch here. Paolo and Franz can carry the load, but they need help. And this Magic team is obviously at its best when you've got a third or a fourth man just sort of alleviating some of that pressure.
Yeah, and I think, Magic head coach Jamal Mosley has preached this since training camp. It's one of his catchphrases. I think that third and fourth scoring punch for the remainder of the season is going to be by committee. That's one of his phrases he loves, and I think it rings true here. They're going to need that additional scoring punch on a nightly basis to be by committee. And you have Paolo, who's scoring at a historic rate in the month of March. Him and Franz are putting up duos, rarely seen in NBA history at this age. They're getting that punch consistently. So it's really the third and fourth scoring options they're going to need to figure out going down.
Here's Harden. With the floater, missed it short. Rebound, Banchero. Magic work the run. 3-on-3 or 1-on-3, whatever you like. Paolo Banchero and the foul.
Yeah, the Euro step across. I mean, it's just.
That guy heats up as well and comes up with some big shots.
Courtside countdown. How about the access we're getting from our lead videographer, Houston McCullough? She is there in San Antonio showing you P5. And now we're getting a look at some highlights from last night as the Magic fall to the Los Angeles Clippers. Let's get some comments in here on the YouTube page. Jake Chapman, Dan Savage here with you. Let's see. Another lotto ticket. That's a great way to put it, Dan. Will Dawson's on board with that metaphor, I guess, that Dan had of it, just as far as bench production goes. Will says Cole Anthony had been a great facilitator in the few games before going out with an injury. He should help snap the ball around. I think that's a big key. Obviously, you saw that certainly against Sacramento on Saturday night. The bench, very specifically, that thing was snapping around in the half court. I think at times with Paolo and Franz, they're so good offensively. Guys kind of get in, stand and watch mode. And then also, I think the perimeter shooting, it's chicken egg. Sometimes you miss 2 or 3 threes individually, and then it's like, well, I'm gonna keep coming off it and passing it around, trying to get a better look. You just got to be decisive. Catch, fire, put the ball on the deck, move the ball, and play with purpose in your half-court sets. Luis Rosario says we were better off as a playoff team last year than we are now. It's going to be a rough ride this playoffs. Look, get in, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, right now, obviously, the play-in scenario, you're fighting with the Hawks. But the main key as of right now, I think, is to try to secure that 7 seed, have that play-in game, be here in the friendly confines of the Kia Center, and then we'll see what happens. I don't care who you are. If you played Boston or Cleveland in round 1, it's going to be an uphill battle. But at the very least, we've got some recent precedents that the Magic can be successful against those two teams. And so either way, it's going to be tough regardless, but get in and then we'll talk as far as I'm concerned. Dan, did you know that when Franz Wagner shoots better than 50% from the field this season, the Magic are 19-3 in those games? And it's been, I think with Franz, he's figuring out right now kind of how to pick his spots, play alongside a player as dominant as Paolo Banchero has been. We know when Franz has free reign that he's going to be able to put up 30 points night in and night out. But when you get efficient Franz, the results are there, a 19-3 mark. And the last time we saw the San Antonio Spurs, he had 33 points in that game, a career-high 12 rebounds as well. I'm looking for Franz, I think, to come up big tonight against a San Antonio team that, they've got some defenders that I think would be ideal profile wise, like size and athleticism. But I'm not sure they've got guys, especially as far as interior rim protection, that really are cut out to defend a Franz Wagner. I'm looking for Franz to have a big night.
Yeah, when they're whole and you have Wemby back there, it's a little bit different. Obviously, with Sohan and Harrison Barnes, they have some long guys on the perimeter that can cause ball disruption. But Franz has been so good at his stop and go pace, knowing how to decelerate against even athletic wings, stop and go, and really turn the corner and finish at the rim. So without a true shot protector there, the Magic definitely have an advantage with Franz. And I think he's playing very cerebral basketball. He hasn't gotten some fortunate bounces as of late. But I think when you look at this San Antonio team and the struggles they're having stopping the basketball right now, I mean, you look at the last 4 games alone, they're giving up a league high 128 points per game. So I look for the Magic to capitalize on that, even on the second night of a back-to-back, and have a strong bounce-back offensive performance.
Yeah, San Antonio's lost 4 straight. I think I dropped this one before you jumped on, Dan. They've allowed 115-plus points in 12 of their last 14 games, and they've allowed 120-plus points in 10 of their last 14 games. And typically, and we can head out on this, typically teams like this, Dan, I mean, the Clippers are the teams that give the Magic troubles. When the Magic look in the mirror and see a team across from them that plays Magic basketball, that's where it's been kind of a toss-up this year. Teams that are playing the way San Antonio is playing right now, run, gun, get a whole bunch of threes up, because let's be honest, without Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox, it's kind of, they're sort of workshopping right now. And the defense has been a real struggle, obviously, since Wemby went down. The Magic have fared well in games against teams that want to turn it into a track meet. You got to take care of the basketball, obviously. You don't want to get sort of sucked into that type of game. But I feel like the Magic should, even though it's the second night of a back-to-back, should be able to go in and sort of impose their will and make the Spurs play a Magic basketball type of game tonight.
Yeah, the only danger for the Magic tonight is if they don't get back in transition and they don't run the Spurs off the three-point line, because that is exactly how the Spurs are going to try to win. Their formula, regardless of who's been in there, is they are a volume three-point shooting team, and they still shoot at a high percentage. So you got to run them off the line. They don't have necessarily the guys without Fox in there and Wembanyama that are going to finish at the rim. So if you could run them off the line and really make them settle for the mid-range, the Magic should have success tonight and come away with a dominant victory, I'm convinced.
It's Dan Savage, OrlandoMagic.com. Jake Chapman here with you. I'll have the call coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll have the pregame show at 7:30. We're on FM 104.5 in Central Florida. What up, Kai? In Central Florida here this evening. And you can always stream us, of course, on the iHeartRadio app and on the Orlando Magic app as well. And if you're outside of the listening area, NBA League Audio Pass and Sirius XM. Big shout out Jason Dewberry, big shout out Kai, big shout out Houston, and big shout out to the Magic. Cole Anthony, welcome back. Young man, Magic in San Antonio tonight, looking for the season sweep. He's Dan, I'm Jake, he's Dewberry. We'll be back.